Daysville will look into a scenario in which Brazil forms an empire in 2024. And the first country they go up against is Uruguay. Because why not go against Uruguay? Uruguay seems like a reasonable first target. And also, NATO and the UN have been completely gotten rid of in all world alliances, because most alliances would destroy empires in one waltz. Like NATO would destroy Brazil. And while Brazil annexes Uruguay, and Uruguay doesn't exist anymore in this scenario. And realistically, this the Brazil Empire. Well, the first Brazil Empire is basically Brazil plus Uruguay. Yeah, Brazil plus Uruguay. Sounds like an empire. Really much so. And while Brazil goes marching into Paraguay, they decide to go down the Paraguay River, wherever that is. Is it over here? I think there's a river over there. They split the country in two here. Or the river was there, one or the other. Same thing. And so they take over this area. And Paraguay has no choice but to surrender. Because what's Paraguay fighting the world's 12th strongest nation with? What? Literally. With them going after Guyana and Suriname. And while they do this fairly quick and efficiently, why not French Guiana? They're not ready to fight France. And while they start moving in, they take Venezuela's lands they think they own in Paraguay. Literally. What if they do actually invade it? What if? Oh, that sounds like a good video. Will I mean they will get sanctioned? Probably something like what happened to Russia. Except will be more detrimental. Although I doubt Guyana could survive. And now for the peace treaty. After Venezuela. As Venezuela claims the Essequibo region. And did Brazil declare war? Yes. Why did Brazil declare war, you may be asking? Venezuela did the unthinkable and put troops in its supposed lands. And as Brazil starting sending troops, they start moving in deeper. But they don't get very far before Brazil stops them and starts pushing them back. They may be able to hold a bit, but I don't know how long. Probably not very. And while they might be able to make some strong counteroffensives. But since it's all in Brazil's favor, well... Yeah. And there's probably revolutions happening in half the countries that they've invaded. With them looking for mostly the southern parts of this country. Eventually, Venezuela is forced to surrender. Let's see what Brazil takes in the known as the Lima Treaty. And the countries assigned include Bolivia, Argentina. And maybe why didn't Colombia join? Well, Colombia didn't join because France guarantees their protection. So Brazil's plan is if they end up at war with France is to quickly go in to French Guiana. As they decide maybe it's best to invade Colombia. And while Colombia had armed a bit, but they didn't expect a full-on war. I'm not going to color in the full France, even though they're going to be at war, because, well, Brazil's going to do what Brazil does best. With Brazil crossing all over the front, and, well, so does their puppet, making minor pushes. And then their troops in the puppet are making even bigger pushes. With them advancing slow as, well, they knew what France was going to do. And France is like, yes, it's time to enter, right? Well, France doesn't have much troops there yet. With more and more shipments arriving, they push back. And well, into Colombia they go. In the northern front, they take Bogota and force a treaty they want. With them taking the city of Bogota, and the country of Colombia is forced into capitulation. And well, let's see the peace treaty. New war about to be started, and they call it the Bolivia. Crisis breaks out after Brazil claims Bolivia should hand them over their land. And well, during this, they annexed, French Guiana, as they invaded it before France could send troops, and France didn't want to risk a sea invasion of Brazil. So right now, with Bolivia and its allies refusing, they tell Brazil to leave Bolivia alone, as they're very infuriated. But Brazil does Brazil, as they invade Bolivia on multiple fronts. Well, these invasions are a success. With a few days passing and a few months, and then they're like, all right, you must obey us now. This means war, Brazil. War. Brazil doesn't send many troops over. They believe they can fight them off with the defense forces and hold land. With Peru launching an offensive to the north, with the puppets not being brought into this war, giving them the choice to join or not, and they decide not to, because they're Spanish, and they don't want to invade their Spanish friends, and well, they move in to this area of the coast. And while they move into Uruguay and start moving up the coast. And eventually they occupy to a stalemate, and the stalemate moves up to here. And they start moving in with their front line expanding rapidly. But during this time, Brazil's offensive action decided to cut Bolivia in two, to cut it off from Argentina, because it believes by cutting off Argentina, it'll be able to occupy more lands on this front. And well, they start to push back against Peru, because Peru is the weakest one, and Peru is the one strongly offensive finally knocks Peru out of Brazil. And then they start an offensive in the center with the goal of taking Lima. And they quickly manage to take it, but no surrender yet. Eventually, Peru decides to surrender, and Brazil goes right into Chile and goes all the way down there without declaring war, and no war is officially, as they already signed peace. With them pushing Argentina back. But Argentina's fairly strong, so they push Brazil back. But as this is happening, Brazil finally starts taking back their territories, as Argentina is starting to get pretty weak. And well, Argentina fails to launch a counteroffensive, and they push in. And well, Argentina makes another counteroffensive, because they need to hold back the land. But at this point, Argentina completely withdraws from Brazilian territory. And while Brazil starts moving into Argentina, and they quickly move in and take Buenos Aires from them. And they're forced into capitulation. And well, let's see the peace treaty. Bolivia annexed parts of Chile. Big chunk of Peru is stolen from the lands. And while Brazil has occupied so much territory, and they now have 3 puppets, Colombia, Venezuela, and Peru. But let's see them without their puppets. Well, they look pretty strong even without them. And well, that's pretty much all for today's video. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Wild Mapper out, but not until you subscribe. Bye, guys!